We're all familiar with the three whats: what it is, what it can do for me, and what does it cost. Tyler Rickenaugh, Country Financial, can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your financial future, Tyler Rickenaugh, Country Financial, will make sure they are the first ones there when you need them most.
The kids are back to school, and your schedule is busier than ever. From daycare pickup, doctor's appointments, sports, and college tuition, a parent's signature is a powerful thing. Have you ever stopped to think, what would happen if you weren't able to provide one? With thoughtful estate planning, you can make sure that your child's health and education needs are met in the event of your absence due to a temporary incapacity or even death. The estate planning team at Hurley Burrish is here to help.
Fostering deeper relationships, influencing behavior change, developing resilience. You're about to start winning. Here is your host, Christine Bright.
Welcome to Parenting Game. I am so glad you are here. What do you do when you start noticing your child acting, well, a bit entitled? I always share with parents, get them involved in acts of generosity. My guest today is Pastor Kent VanHorn from Shelter from the Storm Ministries, and he is going to share some great ways that your family can get involved. Kent, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Well, thanks for having me in.
Yeah. Well, you know that I have a great love for Shelter from the Storm Ministries. I've gotten involved and have been the parenting coach. And it's just been wonderful to come alongside those ladies and to see their desire to be the best parents that they can be. And we are also in the middle of the holidays. It's that time of year, so share with me, what are some family traditions that you guys have during the holidays?
My wife and I, we have different traditions passed on down. She has different things she bakes, like she has these little pepper nuts that she rolls every time, and as the kids were growing up, that they always looked forward to that. They came from her grandma, right? So we have all these, we do a lot of things like that, and when we had kids in the house, we baked cookies. That was always the big event, you know, bake the Christmas cookies and challenge each other with the decorating, and of course Dad always failed. My cookie decorating was pretty much the worst, but it was a source of humor in the family.
Yeah, that is so fun. That cookie decorating when I was growing up was a big part of it. My son and I have developed a tradition where he comes over, and I'm terrible at putting Christmas lights on a Christmas tree. So he comes over, he puts the lights on my tree, and then we...
So real tree or fake tree?
Real tree.
Real tree.
Real trees, yeah, kind of. I was always a fake tree growing up, but one of my former husbands got me hooked on doing the real trees. And I have a small apartment, so I have a small area where it needs to go. And so I always get we call it... just like a squat tree. I don't know why we call it that, but that's just become the name. I'm going to go buy my squat Christmas tree, but it's just always a little short, little pudgy tree. So he'll come over, put the lights on, go through the Hallmark ornaments, you know, and he'll put all the ones on that were his, that he received when he was younger, and then we make snickerdoodle cookies. That is his favorite cookie, so that's what we'll make. So I love having holiday traditions.
I might have to stop by for snickerdoodle
cookies. Yeah, they're always a hit. And then I'm a big Christmas decor decorator.
Okay.
I decorate the first weekend in November. I don't decorate for any other holiday. And it's pretty intense. Like, I take pictures off the wall, and I have different pictures that go on the wall. So I like doing it that first weekend in November because it's a lot of work, and I like to look at it for quite a while. How about you? Do you guys do like a major overhaul in the house when Christmas comes around?
Yeah, actually, my wife, she likes to decorate seasonally. So she has like these, you know, we have pillows all through the living room, and then she has them so that she takes the covers off and puts new ones on for every season, right?
Okay.
So right now the fall ones are on there, and then then Thanksgiving will come, and she'll take those off, and the Thanksgiving covers go on, and then the Christmas covers go on. So yeah, we do. She has a various rotation, and she has stuff on the mantle. different things come down, go up in every season. So at Christmas, we'll see all those that fit that season. Yep.
Yeah, that was my mom. It never took hold for me. I just like to do the Christmas and that's it. And people will laugh. And then it will stay up. The first weekend in January, I'll start taking down the Christmas tree and some of the Christmas stuff. But a lot of the twinkly light stuff can kind of hang in until February, just because I like coming home. You know, when you come home and it's dark and, you know, you can see through the windows all the little twinkles in my apartment. It just makes me very happy.
Well, you know, you need things to get through these Wisconsin winters, and so a few twinkles help.
Yeah, twinkle lights
Very
totally help. And then we have an interesting story of how we've connected and how I ended up becoming involved with Shelter from the Storm.
One of those divine appointment stories.
Yeah. So we had been connected on Facebook. And so my part of the story is I had some leg in between kiddos I was helping, and it made more sense for me to go to Beans and Cream because I was like right there. But I kept having this pull of going to Grace Coffee.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like having this argument. I don't want to drive all the way to Grace. I mean, I like this about Grace, but I like this about Beans and Cream, you know. And I go, oh, fine. I'm just going to go, I'll go to Grace Coffee. So I go, and I did end up getting, and I still remember it because it was so heavy on my plate, but they had a white chocolate raspberry scone. I swear that thing weighed 2 pounds. And I'm like sitting down and getting ready, and then
this guy walks up to you and goes, "Hey, I know you." And you're like, "You do?" And I said, I introduced myself, and you're like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah. Well, and this was still during COVID, so you had I had my mask off because I was sitting down getting ready to eat, and and then you pulled yours down, and I was like,
the whole pull your mask down so people recognize you era. I had forgotten about that part.
And then, so I just asked you. I said, "Hey, what's keeping you busy these days?"
And I had just finished a meeting at the Grace about the shelter.
Yeah.
And so I saw you, and of course that's kind of what I do. That's part of what I do for Shelter is I'm our face out in the community, and I just ask God to give me these opportunities, and that day He did.
Yeah.
So.
And it was so interesting because I had just started. Barb at the chamber says you need to connect with Shelter, and we weren't connecting. We kept just kind of missing in schedules, and then when I asked you what's keeping you busy, you're like, "Oh, I'm doing this and that, and I'm working." And I'm going, "I'm working with Shelter from the Storm." And then I said, "Huh?" I said, "Do you have a few minutes?" And we ended up talking for about
long time.
I think over an hour, if not more. And it was like one of those divine things, and I'm going, okay, I really feel this is something that I need to do. And then got connected with Tammy at the time, who was the executive director, and we started putting together, how are we going to present, this parent coaching piece, to the shelter. Because, these women are coming out of very obvious, a lot of times not stable families. Some of the stories, like their growing up was pretty good. And then some choices and experiences along the way have put them in a position of homelessness. But, some just didn't really have, good examples of, good parenting. And they knew they wanted to do something different. So anyway, so it started, and we ended up just finishing our first 6 weeks of coaching, which these women just fed me as much, as I fed them. But tell just a little bit about get a little bit more in depth about how you got involved with the shelter, and then what you do there.
So going back a ways, it was about, I guess it's 11 years ago now. So I've been in ministry in the Sun Prairie area for 23, 24 years now. And there was a group of churches, and we were all got together to do a winter coat drive for needy kids in town. And we went to the school district to kind of get a feel for, how many do you think we should collect? And that's when we learned that there were 80 to 100 children in our school district that were homeless.
Wow.
Sorry, that one always hits me.
Yeah.
And so that was an eye-opener for us. It was like, wow, our kids are in school, and these kids are sitting next to them, and they're going home at the end of the day, and they don't know where they're going to sleep, right? So, so that kicked off just a really grassroots community effort. Individuals, churches, businesses got together, started talking about how to address this need. And so the wonderful thing is that, people just really came together. They traveled out of state, visited another facility to learn. A group of people came together. We looked for a good property, and we were able to secure a building about 6 years ago. And we had a bunch of efforts, and it got remodeled and gutted and restructured for this purpose, right in one of our neighborhoods here. And I was one of the sort of cheerleaders and supporters at that time. I wasn't leading the effort, but my wife was in there, and they went in and prayed during the construction and wrote scriptures on the studs. My wife knows where she wrote on there and things. And so we were always there, and some of my friends were in leadership there at the time. So it kicked off, and we were again, on the periphery as a supporter. And then I've always worked part-time in ministry, and then I had a full-time job with the state. Well, everything sort of lined up last year. 2 years ago, I was hired as a senior pastor at Harvest Church in DeForest, and then a year ago, I was able to retire from the state right when Shelter from the Storm had a need for a part-time development coordinator to come in and build community support and keep the connection with the community for them. And so I called Tammy up and said, hey, I think I might be able to help you here.
Yeah.
And so that it all just lined up. And so now I've been on the team for a little over a year. And it's just great to see what's happened from that beginning 11 years ago.
Yeah, I know it's been, the property piece is what took a lot of years to wait and get a property that was going to work. One of the things I love, it is in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, when you drive up, and you guys don't advertise it for, the address for safety reasons, but it's just that normalness that kids really, need, and not that it's like, oh, I'm driving to this really out of the way place that's, it just doesn't feel like home. It doesn't feel normal.
Yeah,
and I like that piece.
That was a wonderful provision because, we're in a place where, we're a couple of blocks from an elementary school, so some of our kids can just walk to school, and it gives them that real home atmosphere, which is what we strive for, to give them a stable home.
Yeah, and and as I've been in there, it is so cute and so comfy. There's actually been a few decor things that I've taken pictures of, and I'm like, oh, I want that. That's really cute. Also, just a sense of community, but then you also give them a sense of their own space. And how many rooms are at the facility?
So we have 12 efficiency apartments in the building. One of those houses our house manager.
Yeah.
So we have 11 efficiency apartments, and then we have, as you've seen, we have a common kitchen and a common dining area and a common living area, and then we have office space for our staff. And so when we're full, we can support about 35 moms and children. So one of the reasons why we have a house manager, because you can imagine with 35 moms and kids in one building, that takes just a little bit of management.
Yes, lots of dynamics.
Yeah, right. And again, all ages and that. So that's kind of our capacity, and it's worked really well.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and the apartments are very cute. It isn't. I think initially sometimes people think it's will have that prison look, and it's not at all that. It's like a normal apartment building.
Yeah, and while our name, Shelter from the Storm Ministries, has the word shelter in it, sometimes that gives the wrong impression, and we like to refer to ourselves more as a home than a shelter, because we're not a emergency day shelter. We're transitional housing to help people from one place in their life to get to another place in their life.
And that's really important for people to understand. So I do want you to share more about the philosophy behind, what you do. I thought one thing that was, really interesting is, somebody can't just show up and knock on the door and you bring them in. There's actually an intake process.
Yeah. So we have, just to kind of establish the need, in our county, we have somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 people homeless on any given day. And most people, when you hear homelessness, you think about you get this image of a man sitting next to, a grocery cart with all of his belongings, right? But 30 to 40% of those homeless are children. And so that means there's hundreds of kids in our county every day that are facing this situation. And they have all kinds of different stories, and we can't help them all. So we have a sector of them that we're a good fit for. And so part of our process is we get referrals from other nonprofits, from school districts, and then we have, they fill out an application, and then we have an interview process to find out if they're a good fit for us. And so, sometimes those moms and children have needs that we don't have the resources for. Other times we're exactly the right one. So that homelessness pie is big and we have a sliver of it.
Yeah.
And we're designed for that. So we want to make sure that it's a good match.
And then you have, when they agree to come to the home, there are certain things they have to agree to do. You do the financial piece. They have to be willing to take some financial courses. You have, and you don't call her a job coach. I forget.
Opportunities coach.
Opportunities coach. I love that.
Yeah, Janelle, she's great.
Yeah, and this, and helping in that area of finding, jobs. What other pieces are involved?
Yeah, so our strategy, of course, is when these families first come to us, they've often been through like a traumatic situation, a lot of uncertainty. And so that first stage is just give them a stable, loving environment, right? Where they can be safe and they feel safe. And we offer trauma counseling for the moms and the children if they need to work through some things from their past. So that's one piece of it, providing that loving, stable environment. And then we sit down with them and find out what were the challenges that they faced that led them to homelessness, and what are the barriers that they're facing to get back to having a stable income and stable housing. And so then what we do is we have programs and opportunities for them to gain the skills necessary for them to get to that place of stable housing, stable income. So as you mentioned, Janelle, she works a lot with them on looking at training opportunities and job opportunities. So we have our residents, we team them up with some courses through Urban League, from Madison College, various job training opportunities. We bring in financial coaching pieces just to help people. Some come to us and they don't understand, for example, what is a credit rating and why is that going to affect whether I can get an apartment or not. So we work them through some of those basic skills and understandings so that they can get out, into the world and succeed. In addition, we give them life skills training. So we're on a daily basis. There's sort of mentoring and training about cooking and about cleaning and just keeping a house. And then, sometimes we get wonderful people like yourself that come in and do parenting training. So we try to give them not only the practical job skills, but the life skills necessary so that when they leave us, they can succeed. We also try to build not only a community within, but a community coming in. So we have families sometimes will volunteer to come in with a meal, sometimes church groups, and we try to show them what it looks like to be in a loving group of people, share a meal, build some community, because many of them come to us and the relationships they had weren't helpful, right?
Yeah.
And so we try to show them what that looks like so that when they leave us, they still have some of those community connections to help them succeed.
Yeah.
And
just giving them a different picture on how life can be.
Yeah. And then that final stage after we've helped them get education and a job is to find housing. So there's, in talking here, with the city about the demand for housing, even people with a really good record are having trouble finding a place to live, right? So we help them work through and navigate those issues to get some stable housing.
I love what you guys do. I mean, you really are looking to set these women up to be successful. And usually they're with you a year is
6 to 12 months generally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's important, while much of our investment is in the mothers, it helps that next generation have hope and a different trajectory. Because if there's a family where they're bouncing around, as we call it, couch surfing, with whoever will take them in, chances are those children aren't consistently going to school, they don't have a consistent situation. So if we can get mom to that place of some stability, then that assures that the child has a consistent routine and gets to school, and then their future looks much brighter.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I know you have some success stories.
Oh, yeah.
So share this real quickly, because we
Yeah.
do want to get into the way that parents can and their kids
yes.
can get involved in generosity. But you know, I know that's your favorite
Yeah,
part.
there's lots of stories, lots of great stories. Big picture, we just celebrated 5 years.
Yeah.
59 families, 180 moms and children's helped through our home.
Wow. Phenomenal.
And just as diverse as the stories are coming in, the success stories are diverse going out. We had one that really warmed my heart these last couple of months. She'd been with us in 19 and 20, came to us with a couple of kids and homeless and just not able to get through the hurdles. So when she was with us, she got stable, she got her financial situation cleaned up, she got some job training, and now she works as a supervisor at a retail store, and she came back to the house to see if she could hire some of our moms.
Oh my God. Okay, that gave me goosebumps.
Right? I mean, that's, that's
Yeah.
changing the future.
Yeah.
Right? So that, that was a great one. We had another one this year. She came to us, had to leave just a not healthy environment where she lived in another city, was trying to find a new start, came to this area, but then she couldn't get housing. And she had a 5-year-old and an 11-year-old girl, and she had some skills and some desire, but there was just too many challenges. She'd been associated with someone in the past that ended up giving her a bad tenant record, and then she just couldn't get anywhere.
Yeah,
So-
that's tough.
right? Once that history's there, it's tough in this
Yes.
kind of market. And so she was able to be with us for several months. She took a couple of different job training opportunities, worked for a while as a cook at a assisted living, so her hours kind of were real early or the middle of the day when the kids were at school, right? So it worked. And so she was able to do that and then get her finances cleaned up. We have a course that we can have them go through that it's a good tenant course, cleans up their tenant record.
Nice.
So those kinds of opportunities we offer, and then she was able to secure an apartment on her own, and she's now working as a CNA, which she had done previously, but she just needed that transition period to be able to get life stable again so she could get back on track.
Yeah, and that's interesting with these stories that you share. It really can be just something small that was out of their control that can send them into this situation where they're now homeless.
Yeah.
And they just need that help and support to get back on their feet. And it's just lovely what you guys are doing over there.
And there's a lot of people out there that are just like one car repair away from homelessness.
Yeah.
The car breaks down, then they can't get to work, then they lose their job, then they're homeless. And so we also help out in the community with some of those things.
And I think, us who have been really fortunate don't realize that it can be just one instance away from everything, crumbling.
Right.
And sometimes we get this picture of like they've been very irresponsible or it's been, drugs or choices, and that's not always the case.
No.
It was this one simple thing out of their control and the domino effect happened.
Exactly.
Okay, we need to get into quickly how parents can get their kids involved. So there's several ways. One that I do often when I would come and for our course, I would have a trunk full of paper products. That's always something that you need, and I know that's listed on the website continually, just those needs that they need for basic care products. But there is some more real active ways that families can get involved. So one that you mentioned is about move-outs happen. So what happens when somebody moves out?
Yeah.
You guys need a lot of help.
Yeah, so when somebody moves out, they get to take the linens and the dishes and everything that we gave them and they move into an apartment. And so we actually, there's a couple of things that are needed there. We have an organization, Felicia's Closet, that works with us to help actually set them up and move them into their apartment. So she's always looking for volunteers, and you can tell us that and we'll connect you. But the room that those people left, then that family left, it needs to be cleaned and prepared for the next family. We just had a church group come in with families for a cleaning day. So the moms and the dads were there and the kids were there, and we were able to give assignments, to the adults and the kids, and everybody was a sort of a team together doing some cleaning in the house.
Yeah, and it's this wonderful when you can volunteer with your kids.
Yeah.
I mean, just talk about what a great day. So much is being learned and appreciated. And I just feel like if any family's struggling, and you're feeling disconnected as a family, find a way to do an act of generosity. It just really binds you together.
Well, and when you came in and did the parenting class, right, in order to have an in-house class for the moms to focus on, somebody's got to take care of their children, right? So one of the opportunities we have is a family can volunteer to be available to watch kids when we have a class for the moms, and the whole family can come in. Right now, we just had a bunch of changeover, and we now have 8 children in the house under 1 year of age. So to give those moms any opportunity to take a class, we need a bunch of hands to come in and watch babies.
Yeah, and and as you said, you do welcome teenagers. Sometimes you have several teenagers that do that together. So like somebody could get their friends together to do it, or if you have some younger kids, then come in as a family, and then your younger kids can come in, and you all just play with the kids and have a great time. And I would hear out there lots of laughing and and giggling. So it was a really, really fun time for them. And just always smiles from the people volunteering, smiles, from the kids. It was just always really great to see. And then depending on, I love the idea, you talked briefly about, there's sometimes opportunities they can call the shelter about where your family comes in and has a meal with another family that's there. And then let's get this last one in real quick. Yard work, there are grounds to take care of, and so sometimes during those spring and summer.
Yeah, every season, of course, has its own thing, and we're in winter at the moment, but come spring, there will be spring cleanup. Everybody knows you have to do yard spring cleanup, and we have, a big yard, parking lot, we have a playground area, so we love to have people willing to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty and help us keep our grounds clean and be a positive impact in the neighborhood.
Yeah, your building is really beautiful and really maintained well. Quickly share the website with us.
Okay, so it's sftsm.org.
So Shelter from the Storm Ministries is what
so I like to say
for.
it sftsm.org. If you go there, there's a place for donation where you could find, as you were talking about the Amazon thing, where you could buy things there that we need. And then there's an ACT button, and there's a volunteer there. So if you're interested in volunteering, go there, sign up, tell us the kinds of things that you're interested in, and then we've got you. And so then when the need develops, then we have you on a list and we can reach out.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Thank you for tuning into the Parenting Game.
We're all familiar with the 3 whats: what it is, what it can do for me, and what does it cost. Tyler Rickenaut, Country Financial, can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your financial future, Tyler Rickenaut, Country Financial, will make sure they are the first ones there when you need them most. The kids are back to school, and your schedule is busier than ever. From daycare pickup, doctor's appointments, sports, and college tuition, a parent's signature is a powerful thing. Have you ever stopped to think, what would happen if you weren't able to provide one? With thoughtful estate planning, you can make sure that your child's health and education needs are met in the event of your absence due to a temporary incapacity or even death. The estate planning team at Hurley Burrish is here to help.
Thank you for watching The Parenting Game. All episodes of The Parenting Game are available on demand at sunprairiemediacenter.com.